What's good, everybody? This is Y and Z, simply a conversation between the generations. The Y, the millennial, aka represented by myself, Jay Clark, and that young whippersnapper over there is the Z, Xavian Lewis. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for tuning in and joining us, my brother, in those good old purple and gold Alcorn. How you living?
Man, I'm doing quite well today, man. Feeling pretty nostalgic. Got my school jersey on. Just in case you don't know what it is, it's the Alcorn State University, the big school in the SWAC, HBCU. And so I'm glad to be here, man. Glad to kind of nail in a little bit on these millennials today, man, because yeah, why not? I
No,
woke up
no.
this morning and I was like, I just want to choose violence.
Okay, good. I like violence. We'll get to that in a second. I'm just curious, how you nostalgic about something that only happened a year or two ago?
Hey man, Alcorn has been a part of my life, my whole life.
Has it?
What? My whole life. My mom went to Alcorn. My big brother went to Alcorn. It's a legacy.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. Simply what we do here is talk between Whoa, let me get my mind right because he's choosing violence, so I gotta be ready.
Yeah,
Shit.
yeah, get frazzled.
We talk between the
Oldie.
generations. Sharon takes, and so since you want to choose violence today, I'll pass it to you first, sir. What you got?
Hey, bro. So, we understand that y'all experienced life where you had to wait after 8 or 7 or 9 to get the free minutes on the phone. And we understand y'all live that life. We get it. We get it. We understand that, y'all didn't have just a whole music library on your smartphone in your pocket. Some of y'all carried around a little disc jockey and you had to skip past the CD song. Oh my God. He has a whole case of CDs.
Physical media, physical media. It's a beautiful thing.
We understand all of this. But what we are steady not understanding is why are y'all lives like soap operas? I feel like we as Gen Z, we're young and turnt. We're embracing life. Life is yeah. And then you get to these millennials and they're just kind of like, yeah, life is horrible right now.
Okay. You really going here? Okay.
And don't get me wrong, life is horrible for a lot of people. But why is it hitting millennials the hardest? That's what I want to know.
Because like y'all, we have been a pivot point in this kind of economy thing.
Right, right.
Um, we hit that stage of adulthood, and this isn't just us. It's kind of shared with X a little bit because my wife is X, and so
Okay,
she talks
okay.
about how getting out of college in the 2000s, you got all this hope. You've seen as we talked about growing up in the 90s, you see people having these careers, they getting paid, they getting money. This the middle class. This how life is
Right,
supposed to
right.
be. So X kind of gets out, and you have 9/11. You have the war in Iraq, and then you have the housing market crash of '08. So things are kind of screwed for them. And it's only
Horrible.
gotten worse since then. And so you had a good portion of X who kind of got in before all that. So it's really that late portion of X and pretty much all the
Yeah,
millennials
millennials, right,
who
right.
are like, okay, the world is as we talk about with y'all growing up, the world pivoted and it's kind of like, okay, and really with us, because we grew up our education in the 90s was, hey, you go to school, get your high school diploma, go to college, taking out the loans, get your degree, do your internships, you get the jobs that'll, allow you to pay back that money, buy a house, start a family, the whole plan. And that has been thrown out the door. And so,
Nah, quite literally. You're
and
not even lying with
yeah,
that.
and
And it
that shift has
was
happened. And so coming into that shift when you're really trying to get things going, it's like, wait, the game I was being taught to play and shown how to play to an extent my entire life growing up has decided to change the rules, or people are changing the rules, and we're struggling how to adjust.
and I'm not even gonna hold you. That's actually kind of like very true. Because even as a kid, we could kind of notice like a lot of changes, but we were kids, we were children. So we
Mhm.
didn't have to feel stable during those moments. But now you're so serious. Like that would have left it on millennials being new adults coming out of college, or some people, still in college or whatever, kind of having the whole playbook rewritten.
Yeah.
And there was really no time to be like, oh, let me just spend the extra year in college until I get my stuff together. Nah, it was already there at that point.
And part of it too is you got to think about it. The way that y'all kind of feel blamed for stuff, or that people come down on y'all, we was getting it hard. Like it was always, well, millennials would be able to survive if they wouldn't eat their damn avocado toast. And it's like, what the, like, and it's to the point, like, if you really pay attention now to when they're, especially on some mass media markets and, channels and things like that, they're still using the word millennial when
Oh
talking
no,
about young people. And it's like, listen here,
brother,
millennials,
millennials are
youngest
rubbing Big G
millennials
on
are in their 30s.
themselves.
Youngest millennials are turning 30. We got families, kids, responsibilities. We're trying to get going in this life. Like we're not young anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's a bleak picture. And I'm curious. Let me turn the question around on you a little bit in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
discussion. Y'all are starting to get into it now, but y'all kind of have come up, as you mentioned, seeing that a little bit, but not having to worry about it. How are y'all feeling knowing that y'all are kind of at the beginning of this thing and trying to navigate this
Bro, I feel
craziness out there
like
that's making adulting so like just ridiculously stupid?
I will say I think we're on the other end of the spectrum. Still a very horrible coping mechanism, but at the other end of the spectrum. I feel like instead of deciding to be kind of bleak about it, we're like trying to overcompensate for the unstructuredness of adulthood. Like how unstructured adulthood could be, and like how we kind of saw with COVID, if the whole world could shut off in a second and no one gives a care about whether I eat tomorrow. Like that's a hard truth that we kind of had to realize pretty soon there. And so I think our way of coping with it is like, oh, party hard, do as much as I can now, because who knows when it's going to be ending. Like, and I think that's our coping mechanism to it. Still, not a good coping mechanism at all. But I most definitely think my generation is overcompensating with social media, making sure that we have that right angle, that good look for that picture. You know what I'm saying? Finding gratification in that way.
Y'all are scared to get
So,
into the world.
right, right,
I
right.
wouldn't say it's a cope. Y'all are like, okay, I'm a delay stepping out the front door of this house as long as possible, regardless of the repercussions and consequences. Y'all are like, if I can stay in my mama's house with no
And
cares and
not just that,
concerns.
because some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them have moved out for the most part, but
Yeah,
even then, the money that they're making from their job, none of it is going towards, oh, what can I do to keep going up? They're plateauing for the moment at, let me just make enough money so I could buy the cute for outfits, to post pictures on Instagram, to take a little trip. You know what I'm saying? That's where the money is going to. That's the plateau of the height of their life right now is. Let me stack this bread so I can show this bread.
how's it feel experiencing the world? Or no, let me phrase it this way. How does it feel that the world you mostly know is a lie? Or knowing that your entire generation is literally just putting up fronts to make it look like we're doing okay or make it look like things are better than ever. But let's be honest, statistics and numbers show it's all a bunch of BS.
Bruh, you know what it feels like? It feels like I'm a character at GTA. That's what it feels
That's,
like. It feels like
that's a good one.
there is a whole plot going on. And I'm not one of the, I'm an NPC. That's what it feels like. Cause I'm like, whose story am I playing in? Cause it can't be my story. It feels like it's just so crazy. Cause I'm just like, there is just no way. And like you said, because of mass media, it won't even necessarily diversify what you see. it'll just push you one type of thing to see, and that'll be like, oh, that's all I see.
You're being
Not
pushed further down
necessarily.
into the hole.
Right. You
Your
haven't even
siloed
gone
view
down the
becomes
rabbit
that much
hole.
more
So
siloed.
like it's like the overconsumption of lies. And at which point can you blame the person for believing the lie when the lie is the only thing they're being fed?
No, I can't blame people like to that extent because when you're being, it's monoculture doesn't exist like it used to where we were all kind of consuming
Right.
the same thing. It's now all personal. And yeah, it creates a very distorted view. And you're able to put out a distorted view. Like we hear people talk about, it's like, yeah, this life you're seeing on Instagram isn't how it really is. That great outfit was returned the next day, or these trips from these magical locations is actually just 10 pictures from the same trip that you're spreading over and over and over again. Like, and it's wild because I'm kind of curious. What would you picture? What would you paint the picture of? I don't want to call it the American dream, but like your generation's right now view of success, real and being slightly realistic about it, because we all want the money, the cars, the clothes, the hoes. Shout out to Drake, successful back in the day. Um, but what's like what really is like? Yeah, this is the goal right now.
Man, honestly, and I think it's sad to say, I think for some of them, if they are able to kind of live up to those, Instagram model lifestyles, that's their goal. And that's literally the plateau of their dreams. Me personally, I think most of the goal for people who are actually tapped in my generation, because of course it's not all of us, but the portion of my generation that's like, nah, I need to save up, I want a family or something like that. I think it's traditional in a way of I want a family, I want a good paying job, I want, the house, the car, whatever, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I think what makes it Gen Z about the whole thing is they want freedoms to go with that. So I think a lot in previous generations, we saw people have that, but they felt so bound down by, oh, I got this nice house, but I got to make sure I'm working like a dog to pay the mortgage. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. They felt bound by the stuff that they worked their whole life to get. And
Hmm.
I think what makes it so Gen Z about us is we're like, no, I don't want any of that unless it comes with the ability to be like, oh, I just want to take a trip this year. I shouldn't have to break my back to take a trip this year to go where I want to go with my family, whatever like that. I think it's I think the me's or people like me of my generation is just kind of like, hey, we know what we want. We just don't want to kill ourselves in the process.
That's an interesting statement because it's
Because
it's actually a topic I've wanted to get in with you before. We touched it briefly, but like kind of this whole I want these things, but I don't want any of the responsibility that comes with these things, or I don't want to put the work in to even get these things. So unless it
right,
falls in my
right.
lap, it's just not going to happen.
Because I will say most of my generation is like that, right? They just want it overnight, bro. They want it put into their laps. I ain't gonna hold you. I've seen it plenty of times. People think just because they make the Instagram page, just because they post a few pictures or post a few videos or whatever, they should just boom blow up overnight. Don't work like that, big dog. It just does not. It just wow. I don't know. I just got attacked. It just does not work like that at all. Like I'm still of the volition that it takes hard work. That's never been a part of the question. It does take hard work, but I don't think that it should kill you though. I don't think that I
Agreed.
should look 65. I don't think that I should be 65 absolutely burnt out from life.
That's I would not disagree with you there. We certainly appreciate some of the energy your generation is bringing and to be like, hey, things have been effed up for a while. This ain't really working out. We all for that energy. Like I'm not going to shade
Yeah.
y'all for that at
Yeah.
all. Like change needs to happen, but it's this unwillingness to even participate in the game and the way the game is rigged right now simply because the game is wrong. Like y'all are on this conscience type of tip, like, oh, the game is wrong. I can't even put my token on the board because it's wrong.
Right, right, right.
But you're not like you can't just take yourself out of life.
I completely get you there because I get you not. Sometimes I am like that. I kid you not. I'm just kind of like, hey, bro, this all messed up. I'm not even gonna participate. Y'all need to get y'all stuff together before y'all think about trying to get me to come into this with y'all because it ain't right. It ain't
Mhm.
right. It ain't right. I'm not about to waste my energy on this stuff that ain't right. But I still do see the wisdom from our big brothers and big sisters, the millennials, and the mindset of you can create change in the environment a lot better from the inside than from the outside.
Facts.
And you still need, like you said, you still need to move, you still need to progress. And while you're doing it, it's easy to kind of change up the systems or whatever like that. But we're not going to get much change that we desire if we're only on the outside screaming in, change this, fix this. I'm not participating unless y'all change this, fix this.
Hmm. Yeah, especially
Let me
because
just side note this here,
uh-huh.
bro. You have a great goatee. Like, as a Gen Zer who is struggling to grow facial hair right now, to see you over there with it makes me jealous.
I have never facial hair for me has never been. I was born with a mustache. Like I would as a baby, I had some mustache. Like I've never. There has yet to be a facial hair trend that I have not been able to partake in and actually and make it sculpt happen. Whether it looks good or not, it's a different story. Like I back in the day, I had the chin straps. I can do the full beard. I can this facial hair is not a struggle for me. And the goatee has just always kind of been my favorite. It's simple, it's clean. Um, and honestly, right now, I don't like the beard as much because I have the sleep apnea machine. And so my mask fits better and more comfortable over my face with the goatee because the edges are on
Yeah,
skin
yeah, yeah,
versus when I have it on with the beard and it gets to a certain length, it's just not comfortable. But anyways, yeah, real life stuff right there. As you see with these discussions, we're gonna put the pin in that for now because that's a deep one. There is so
yeah,
many different
yeah,
causes and factors, but it's going to be it's as we've said before, it's going to be interesting watching y'all because y'all are really getting into adulthood now and like I said, y'all are really kind of hesitating getting out the front door, but at some point, y'all gonna be on the corner and have no idea what to do, or it's gonna be interesting to see. But anyways, Y and Z discussions between the generations. Jay Clark here, Xavier Lewis over there. Like, share, subscribe. If you got a take or comment, please feel free to share it. Let's have some fun. Let's lighten up the mood a little bit.
yeah, yeah. What you got, man?
I want to know because as one of the greatest shows on right now has been X-Men '97. Um, and so spoiler alert, Storm got her powers back in this last episode, and that was a chef kiss of a scene. And so I want to know what are your top three, and this could be movies, TV shows, whatever, hero moments. And I want to focus like on the entrance, like on that, like it doesn't have to be a superhero landing, but like that moment of the hero being like, I'm here, or I have stepped into my hero-ness, aka like that first time the Avengers assembled in the Avengers, Storm getting her powers. But what are your top three? Like these are three moments where it's like, yes, this is the hero's moment.
Um, I mean, it just has to be anytime Thor. Number one is Thor,
Okay.
and this is anytime that he just boom, specifically in Infinity War when he popped up on the scene in Wakanda and he just comes out of the
Oh,
side.
gotcha. Yeah.
The bridge is going, and next thing you know, you see, whoosh, 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 and it's just
Yeah. That's a
Stormbreaker
good one.
going around.
Good
Oh,
one.
it
Good one.
was. I was like, ah.
That's a good
That's
one.
one of the best scenes for Thor. I really do enjoy his like into combat entrances. Very, very tasteful. Very, very good. Um, I also really enjoyed, and this is kind of like in the flip side of it. When I tell you I enjoyed the butt whooping that Bane was putting on Batman, oh my God, it was so good. It
Okay.
was so,
Okay.
I was like, oh, he just topped every other villain in this Batman trilogy because he is literally over here giving him the work, bare
Putting in that
hands,
business. Yeah.
no additives,
Yeah.
just I mean straight yaga. Yeah, I was like, oh my, what is it,
Broke the man's back, literally. So yeah,
bruh?
that's a good one.
Oh, I was like, wow, okay. So that's my number two. Number three, uh, I wanna go. Number three, very, very emotional, I guess. That I just kind of was like, hold up, he actually had a point. And that would have to be Killmonger's line at the end of the first Black Panther,
Okay.
where he was
Okay.
like, he would rather be like the slaves who jumped off off the side of the boat than being the ones who stayed on it.
Right. Okay.
Because he preferred that version of freedom. So I think it was a very, very underrated thing. The first Black Panther doesn't even get talked out about a lot anymore, and that's for obvious reason because Chadwick and everything that happened there. But I think that line, that whole villain arc of that movie was very, very tasteful because it was like of our skin colors. It was really a Martin versus.
Listen, as you grow up and you start to see, especially when these comic book heroes and villains, the villains ain't always necessarily wrong.
Not at all. And it's like you kind of realize that the heroes are out here fighting for ordeals that hold up, do I even believe in that? do,
Mhm.
do I agree with that? Or am I on the side of the villain? So yeah, those would be my top three. I'm very eager to hear your top three, only because I know you've read comics too. And I do need to start getting into those because I feel like those would have some dope.
I'm not the biggest comic head. I read comics and adapt, but comics can be a hard thing to follow because there's so many. But
Yeah.
coming in at number three is from Hook. Steven Spielberg's 1991 or 92 film about the adult Peter Pan. And so that
Yes.
scene where he remembers who he is. And so it's the whole it's once again it's everything. It's the music in the scene. I have that score on my playlist because it's a beautiful score. What causes him to remember,
I
and then literally him flying up into the sun, coming back like that. Whoo,
I
like
forgot everything about that movie. That's
that's a
crazy.
not
That's
not
a
the
good
best
movie.
reviewed movie, but I that's one of them ones. If I come across it on TV and we are anywhere close to that scene about to happen, it's like nope, nope. I
Don't
need
change it.
I need to
Keep it
catch
there.
this scene. I can watch this over and over and over again. So that's number three. Number two, I'll put in a combo of animated is one which we just saw last week. That storm scene, her
It
getting her
was
power
so
back
good,
was
bro.
just the depth of it and what the
It's so
conversation
good.
she was having and what led to her getting her powers back and why she didn't like that was and the cinematography that like it was beautiful. You can't do that outside of animation.
No.
If they do that real life and pull it off, it'll be great. But that was beautiful. I'll pair that with the last episode of Justice League Unlimited. There's a fight scene between Superman and Apocalypse. And what makes it like, oh snap, Superman has arrived is literally he is whooping Apocalypse's ass and talking to him about it, being like, he's like, but not I'm beating you. He's like, I generally have to hold back. I'm too strong. If I don't hold back, somebody gets hurt, somebody dies, all this kind of stuff. He's like, no, but with you, oh, I can just let loose. And he's letting loose. And
Bruh.
it's just one of those like you think about like, yeah, Superman probably with some of these folks can't just lay out a straight punch because
That's
they
the
hold
end of the
chested.
fight. There's no comic book. It's like
You're always seeing
the
Superman's
end.
power having to be, taken down. He's hurt. Something taken away. So it was a great scene because it's literally just, oh, this is Superman being Superman, and you are seeing all that strength and power. Number one is a moment we will never see again. It's just Endgame. That moment,
Oh,
that moment when they're all
ah,
coming through the portals,
ah,
they all arriving,
on your left.
the music,
Ah,
yeah, yeah, tap on your left. And he finally utters
ah.
those two words that we've been waiting since the first Avengers to hear is the top tier superhero arrival scene because it's literally like everyone on the
That
screen.
end game is just, man, it's one of those. I mean, you still just ask that question. did Marvel hit their mountaintop with that whole thing, and we'll just have to wait to see what time brings. But it's gonna be hard, especially with what they were setting up with Jonathan Majors, and then that whole thing happened, and then they dropped Jonathan Majors. It's kind of like, where do you even go?
Well, I think it is a mountaintop, and it's on a creative aspect. It's one of those things where you have to realize, okay, yeah, this was a mountain, and you have to realize what made it a moment. Like
Right,
that first Avengers was a moment because it was like, okay, we didn't know whether they could pull this off, and they pulled it off on this scale. This one is a moment because like that scale is now increased. It's over this stretch of time, and it's like, my God, they did it. You can't turn around and try and replicate that same thing because it's no longer a spectacle like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. Oh my God, they pulled it off. There's no question. You've pulled it off. We've seen it. You've done it. Now show me something new.
right.
And
It's
that's where
kind
they're
of like,
struggling.
can you develop this type of passion, emotion? Can you develop this sense of, oh, I'm developed, like delved into this universe with new characters? Right. It's like, of course. I mean, it was Iron Man. It was, and even the aspect of like leaving Spider-Man, for the most part, Spider-Man didn't come in until like the end.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
So he has still so much room, but I don't even think they're gonna are they doing anything else with him as Spider-Man?
Yeah, Marvel's figuring some things out right now. And it was funny.
Like,
And it was funny. Shout out to For All Nerds. It's a podcast. It's a black podcast. They were talking about black comic culture or black sci-fi culture and things of this nature through the black lens. And they pointed out in their last review of this latest X-Men episode, they're like, that's one of the reasons these live action films are struggling is the pace and way you can change and shift out of different themes and what you can do with animation and people to buy in is almost impossible to do on an extent of a
almost
live
definitely.
action.
Oh,
And
without a doubt.
it's one of those things like DC's animated universe is excellent. They're some of the top tier animated films.
But
Marvel's
live
animated
action,
Marvel's animated properties top tier because of the stories they're able to tell. That live action can be hit or miss, and a lot of the times it's more so miss than hit. I mean, your first Superman movie was a hit because it was the first one. We've never seen a live action man really fly through the air before. That was the tagline. See him fly or something like that. Special. The first Batman, yeah, dark, great to see on screen. Your next couple Batman's a little questionable. Batman Returns is fine, straight.
right, right.
Then you get to the 2000s. It's kind of like, yeah, X-Men was cool, great, more so because we got to see X-Men for the first time. Spider-Man, same thing. But then as you keep going on, it's kind of like, yeah, this ain't really.
A lot of misses.
Yeah, it's a lot of misses. And so, like I said, once again, shout out to For All Nerds. They made the point of how much better and more suitable this stuff is for the animated universe than a live universe because you're able to buy in and believe it so much more.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if Marvel kept moving into into that lens of going straight to, I'm not mad at this 10 episode, hour long episode thing they've been doing with certain character stories in the MCU, right? Instead of giving them a whole movie, they just give them like a 6 to 10 episode series on Disney Plus, and bam, we have a whole base level for whatever that character needs to be before it ever gets to screen.
Some of
So
them have
it's,
been questionable too.
yeah,
Like
yeah. Some of them are. You can tell which ones they love more than than the others. You can tell. You can tell who they put love and care into.
most definitely. But let's wrap that up. As you see, we cover a wide gambit here on Y
Oh
and Z.
yeah.
We go from serious, real life stuff, and we'll have some fun too with random stuff like this. But once again, we're open. You got a question, pose it to us. You want to see how Y feels about something, you want to see how Z feels about something, hit us up, like, share, subscribe, follow us on this back end. Before we let you go, we like to put one another on. So, youngin, what you putting me on this week?
Hey man, I love to eat. I love food. I'm a big foodie. And I'm gonna tell you one thing that I had like heard about it, read about them, but I had just never actually gotten one. That is a darn soup dumpling.
Oh, those are good. I have
Oh my God. I had my first soup dumpling for the first time last week. And it's like a meat gusher. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it just squirts into your mouth, and then you're just like, oh my God. And then the broth is actually tasty. It's not just hot liquid,
Hmm.
it's really fire. And I'm a big fan of dumplings as far as like, you know, how we grew up in the black community eating chicken and dumplings or something like that. But even the Asian take on dumplings is very fire, very, you know, kind of light. Little dab of chili sauce on there for the kick at the end. It's fire. So I don't know if you're the hugest fan of soup dumplings or, you know, anybody out there, if you ever even had them, experience a soup dumpling today.
I came into taste or experience with them while we were in New Zealand because you got a big Asian
Yeah, yeah.
and you're getting some more authentic Asian cuisine over. That's a whole different discussion between Chinese and American Chinese food. But they would literally have actual dumpling shops and stuff over there, where you're
Ooh.
getting like some real deal, like chef curated million different ways to do dumplings. And yeah, soup dumplings was one of those ones that's like, ooh, like I've yet to find anything that's come close, or even just like, and it's readily accessible over there. Like they're all in.
Right.
That's something, unless you really probably tapped into the community over here, you guys to find a place to get a good one. But yeah, oh yeah, soup
Right.
dumpling.
Unless you just have like a, like you said, like a big Asian culture, Asian market, wherever you're currently living, it's kind of hard to find the authentic versions of it where it's kind of like, oh, dumplings are really like you get six of them for like $1.25.
It was a little more pricey than that over there, but no, but yeah, no, that's
But yeah, seeing them like back in other countries and seeing like these actual authentic Asian markets where things are going on like that, it's pretty wild. It's amazing to see and looking at how the culture is so different.
it is some good eating, good eating. What I want to
What you
put you
got for me? What you got for me?
since we was talking about superheroes earlier, I need to know, what do you know about Static Shock?
I don't know anything about
Oh
that.
my God. Okay. You need to check out Static Shock. DC Universe character, black teen, had his show. He had it was like 2099, 2000 was part of Saturday mornings on the WB back in the day.
Really?
And it's great. And they do some awesome stuff because they do some crossovers with like Justice League and Batman Beyond. So definitely I want to put you
Hmm.
on to Static Shock. Black teenage superhero. His power is like electricity. So he can control electric like, and it's yeah, and once again, in that same vein of like DC animated shows,
But this sound like Black Lightning. Like a younger, like if this were like young Black Lightning.
kind of to an extent, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
dope. That's
Yeah.
dope.
Definitely, yeah. But definitely check that out. Static Shock. Yeah, that was one of my shows back in the day. Like I said, 99, 2000. I think it probably had like 3 seasons, I want to say.
Hmm.
3 seasons. I'm not sure if it's streaming anywhere. I'll have to check that out. I didn't look that out before that. But yeah.
Nah, nah, nah. I'll search it up. Watch this. I got a question for you though. Like, why we still talking about superheroes? Right quick. Who do you think is ruling what screen? Like, do you think while DC is not making the best movies, do you think they're ruling television, or do you think Marvel is kind of dominant in both?
Mm. Quickly off top, it's not as clear as it used to be. Because back in the day, it was clear Marvel was killing films and had decent representation on TV. But
Right,
TV was, especially like during the 2000s, TV DC had on lock because you're coming off Justice League Unlimited, you're coming off Batman, you're coming off Superman animated series, and then you start getting into essentially what they call like the Smallville universe and the Arrowverse. Like
right,
what
right.
what the amount of stuff DC had on actual television at a point in time was far superior and outnumbered anything Marvel was doing. In fact, outside of the animated stuff, Marvel hasn't really done live action TV well. They had like you had Agents of Shield, you had there was two others, Inhumans or something like that, and then
Agent
one
Carter or something like that.
Agent Carter, which was decent, but like but they haven't found the same success. But I would say the gap between the DC film universe and the Marvel universe is bigger than the gap between the DC animated universe and the Marvel animated universe. Um, but yeah, but that's it. Like I said, that's one of the things. Like it really depends on what time you're asking that question. Um,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
but yeah, no, that's the short answer.
Okay. I just wanted to pique your mind about that.
What about what do you feel before we get out of here?
I mean, I think the same thing. I think
Okay.
DC for the most part, yeah, was ruling television. Like a lot of DC success that kept going was very much in part to their success on television. Like I think if DC would have not learned to, rule that television space, DC might have kind of got kicked to the curb. Cause like we said, the stuff that they were putting on film wasn't the best. You know what I'm saying? Didn't really garner a lot of attention. But the stuff that they was putting on television, chef's kiss.
Hey,
And then Marvel came in, and you could tell that they must have been cooking up on their film skills because Iron Man and everything after that was just giving bangers. It was literally bangers for the most part. And the stuff that they were pulling on television, you could tell it was still good, but just not as much effort was going into it. So that allowed for a nice period of time there, it allowed for a true reign of DC is television, Marvel is film.
and once again, it goes back to the fact that animated is very much so easier to pull off in this realm. Like, because
Right.
even the DC stuff, as heralded as it was, it's definitely still with its faults. Like one of my favorite shows, Smallville, was like, okay, you never see Superman until the end, and even then, it's a brief glimpse. The fight scenes were questionable with the graphics and
Right, right.
and once again, like the stories you're trying to tell is like you're not trying to do too much, and so it's a different product in this realm, and so that's why once again, animation is very much so made for superhero stuff. Like that's just what it's built for. Like you can do so
It
much
just
more.
works better.
Yeah, indeed. But good talking with you this week, brother. It's
Yeah,
Y and Z
man.
conversation between the generations. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. We appreciate everyone. If you like it, hey, tell a friend, family member, auntie, uncle, cousin, whatever, your kid, if they in the right generation, whatever it may be. Send us your takes. And until next time, be safe. We'll catch you for whatever is on this crazy young brother's head next week. And I'll tell you something, right? We teaching him. We're getting them ready for the world. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.